So, hello and welcome to the channel, and most of all, welcome to Sir Mr. Larry C. Johnson joining me today on the
You know, you
30th
you
of September.
you you've proven to be a man of thick skin. I've tried to make myself uninvited, but no, keep having me come back. I'm like
It's
crabgrass. Can't get rid of me.
well, it's my pleasure that you take your time out to come on the show. I was going to start by asking you, I have just a few notes and a few
Sure.
questions that I know that you're really insightful about. I heard Donald Trump today speak to the 800 or so high ranking officers in the same room at Quantico base in Virginia. And to me, I tried to listen for an hour,
Yeah.
but he basically just boasted his own. He was just bragging about what he's doing and not doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I
It's
thought that this would be a major thing that Pete Hegseth called in all these high ranking military people. And they said, what?
yeah.
To me, nothing.
Well, no, I think your observation's accurate. I was most struck by the when the camera shot from the rear, all the bald heads. So we got to, we don't have a lot of generals with hair on their head. Okay, they're all bald.
Yeah,
So
I actually noted that as
yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah. Oh no, yeah. I mean, this was Donald Trump's, uh, typical speech. There was nothing new in it or insightful. Uh, there was nothing in it that these generals had to have traveled, some of them halfway around the world to get there to hear it. Uh, to hear, Donald Trump tell them how great he is,
Hmm.
uh, how bad they suck, how Trump is just, he's settled more wars than Jesus Christ, and you know, he probably deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, and
Well,
Putin's a
he
bad
actually
guy.
said that he didn't want to get the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize. He said that you can throw that. He probably has some information that he's not going to get nominated.
Yeah, he'll never. Well, he's been nominated, but he
Hmm.
will not. The nominations have come in, but he's not been selected as a nominee.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that part of what, of Trump, what he's doing on that, just, that wears very thin. But it's typical of a narcissist,
Yeah.
you know, as he
Yeah.
says.
Well, actually,
Well,
these people, high-ranking officers from both Navy, Army, and Air Force, they sat
and,
there
and the
like,
and the Marine Corps. Don't forget
and
the Marine
yeah,
Corps and the Coast Guard.
right. But they sat there like obedient schoolboys.
Yes. Yeah. Nobody had the balls to stand up and say, "Hey, you're right. I can't put up with you. I quit. I'm resigning my commission." Well, the
Right.
reason they don't is they want to hang on to their pensions.
Right.
Nobody nobody wants to take a financial risk. And I made the point over the last couple of weeks that not one of these generals or admirals have the integrity, have the guts, have the spine to stand up to Donald Trump's illegal criminal attack on Venezuelan fishing boats. This is to claim that, oh, well, we think they're carrying drugs, so therefore they're coming to the United States, which is just ludicrous because none of the boats that they've attacked have the capability on one load of fuel to make it from Venezuela to the United States. They'd need to be refueled at least four times to make that
Exactly.
journey. And in any event, they were not shooting at the United States. But, this is not just Donald Trump's fault. This
No.
got started under Barack Obama. I think it was Obama, maybe it was George W. Bush, where Anwar al-Awlaki, a U.S.-born Muslim cleric who was considered, quote, a terrorist, even though he hadn't killed anybody, and even though he was not in a position threatening, with a gun pointed at anyone, nonetheless either Bush or Obama ordered him murdered and got away with it.
Yeah.
So, it is, uh,
Well, the strange thing is, I know the Caribbean quite well. And like you're saying, it's a long trip if you're going to go all the way from Venezuela to the United States.
yeah, say Key West, Florida would be the closest point.
Right. And you have to pass through a lot of nations, including the British Virgin Islands, maybe to fuel up. The thing that struck me about that is that if there is any information about that they're trying to transport a large number of drugs to the United States, wouldn't the Coast Guard board them
Yes.
and
Yeah.
seize these drugs instead of just shooting them out of the water?
Well, they may have to, they could have to shoot him out if they fight back, but that's the
Right.
point. Um, I spoke with a recently, I don't want to call him retired because that makes him sound like he's an old guy like me. This was a young guy in his 30s who did, 12, 15 years with Coast Guard. But he made that very point. He said, we board him, we take him into custody, we seize the drugs. We don't just start shooting them. Now,
Hmm.
he says, if while we're trying to board them, they start shooting at us, then
Well,
yes, we
that's a
return
different story.
fire. And
Hmm.
that's entirely appropriate.
Exactly.
But if they're not shooting at you, if they don't pose an imminent threat of death or grievous bodily harm, then have no legal right to kill them just because you think they're bad or you don't like what they're doing. The same rules that apply to law enforcement, to the private citizens that carry guns, and also apply to the military in this case. The
Exactly.
military rules are you shoot to kill to defend yourself. You don't shoot to kill just because I don't like the looks of that person.
Yeah, we've
But
all
but
heard it.
but
And
but
yeah,
but my broader point is now one officer stood up and said, "Mr. President, this is illegal. I'm not going to follow that order. I resign in protest." Boy, I'd have a lot of respect for that kind of person. Uh,
wow. Yeah.
but we didn't see that. And
Mm.
so, like you said, a bunch of obedient puppy dogs go into that auditorium, you know, and they may not like the taste of Trump's ass, but by God, they're going to kiss it.
Okay. Yeah, we've all heard the term, and mostly from Hollywood, do not fire until fired upon, and things like that. But it seems like that's out the window. Another thing I want to ask you about, information reached us through the internet, basically, that the war going on in between NATO and Russia, which is, played out in the territory of Ukraine. Is there any way that there's any truth to the rumor that the U.S. is supplying Tomahawk missiles to the
Yeah,
Ukraine?
not yet. Um, there are three variants: air launched, sea launched, land based. Ukraine would have no way to operate air launched or sea launched. Uh, or conceivably the ones the sea launched are submarine launched.
Right.
Um, that leaves the land base. Land base requires a specialized launcher, which, to my understanding, is they're very very scarce, and Ukraine would not be likely to get one if, and this is a big if the decision was made to deploy the Tomahawk. Now remember, this missile, I think, it's not. Um, are you older than 43 years of age?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, it's 43 years old, so uh, it's a little younger than you. Lot younger than me, but it's been around for 43, almost a half a century. Okay, so it's not like it's the most modern, latest, greatest technology. They have made some technological upgrades to it, but it's a subsonic missile that actually would be, I think, fairly easy for Russia to shoot down. The problem is It can be configured. They're currently not configured this way, but it can be configured to carry a nuclear warhead, which was actually its original purpose. So the introduction of those into the theater and launching attacks on Russia would raise the specter of pushing Russia to use nuclear weapons, or at a minimum, the Oreshnik, which is comparable to a nuke without the radioactive effects.
Exactly. I mean, there is no way for the Russian defense systems to know if they see on the radar a Tomahawk missile coming in at subsonic speed, they have to assume that it might be carrying nuclear.
Correct.
They
Correct.
cannot know
Yeah.
if it is or isn't, you know?
Right. Right. No, I mean that's why this would be such a foolish, provocative act. I mean, because even if it was, conventional, it's not going to do anything to change the military reality on the ground. That's why you're seeing this panicked reaction throughout Europe.
Hmm.
They figure their only option is try to, foolishly provoke Russia into expanding the war into Europe, hoping that that would then justify bringing the United States in. But then I say, okay, to do what? Specifically, let's say tomorrow that Russia, in response to a provocation by Germany and Poland, hits the military bases in Poland that have been used to supply weapons to the Ukrainians. Then that at that point, all of the NATO countries get together and say, Article 5, we all vote to go to war with Russia. Okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to take your troops and rush them into Ukraine to go and fight the Russians on the ground? It would take them weeks to move any units of any size. So, that's nothing immediate that's going to happen on that. And once they declare war to do that, then Russia will begin targeting the assembly points in Romania and Poland,
Okay.
wherever. So, you know, um, or well, let's fly aircraft in and let's go attack Russia with our aircraft.
Hmm.
Good luck with that. Uh, the Russian air defense system is quite formidable. So you're looking at getting a number shut down. So
Hmm.
I come back to this. What exactly would then NATO do militarily that would change the course of this war without risking expanding it into a nuclear war? I mean, it's that stark. Um, Russia has exercised a tremendous amount of patience up to this point. But what I see happening is the European countries, especially the little pissant ones, the ones that aren't, they're like dog excrement on your shoe. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, they're nothing. And yet they bark the loudest about, oh my God, we need to go to war. And they're going to be, you know, they'll be the ones to maybe suffer the first and the worst, but they don't have any, military resources to bring to the table.
We
Again,
talked about that before. Combined, Estonia has barely 2 million inhabitants,
yeah,
and they don't have an army, they don't have nothing.
right.
And same with Lithuania and Latvia. And they're minuscule countries and they're neighboring Kaliningrad. And the Russians just moved a bunch of Iskander battery system, rocket launch systems to Kaliningrad to
Hmm.
just be safe. And
Yep.
of course, we knew about this General Donahue, whatever he said, he was going to invade Kaliningrad and take it. It's such a stupid thing to even think about. But another question was uh, Zelensky and his entourage has started to warn Poland and Romania that Russia is going to attack. And
Right.
information that I have is that what they did with the 19 drones that dropped down in Polish territory was actually Russian decoy drones with no explosives on board, and the Russians used them to confuse the Patriot system. and the defense air defense systems, and they pick them up from the ground, refurbish them in a factory they have in Lviv in western
Hmm.
Ukraine. And now the rumor has it that they're going to equip them with explosives and fire them into Romania and Poland, which is geographically the closest, and say, look, the Russians have attacked
Yeah, yeah.
NATO.
Right. And then they'll say that. And then what?
Hmm.
What does Europe do?
Article 5, I guess.
Yeah, and okay, they enact Article 5. Then what do they do?
Nothing. They can't do anything.
Well, it's either they mobilize a force that's going to be enter Ukraine to provide, help try to push the Russians back, which means at that point they become targets.
Hmm?
Uh,
Yeah.
it's not like they've got a surplus of tanks and artillery pieces that they're sitting back. They have limited supplies of those. Those would be immediately decimated. Any air fixed wing aircraft that they try to insert to support would be wiped out. So, this is all this is designed to do would be further destroy Europe,
Yeah.
which I think that at this point the Russians would be happy to oblige. So, yeah, so this is nobody's thinking this through about how am I going to accomplish this? You know, I mean, let's put it in simpler terms. Um, one of the most expensive cars out there is a Bugatti, right?
Yeah.
And so let's say that's $500,000. Well, let's say that your annual salary is $100,000, and yet you want to buy a Bugatti. Okay, how are you going to do that? The reality is, you don't have enough money unless you go get set up a GoFundMe page, tell everybody you're dying of cancer, and you got these tremendous. But if they'll just simply donate, up to $500,000, then you can find the cure for cancer. And maybe they're foolish enough to take you up on that. But that's sort of what Europe's faced with. They got $100,000 annual income, and they want to buy a $500,000 car. Not going to happen.
No. Sweden just sent another 1.1 billion Swedish kroner to Zelensky. Uh, and if translated to dollars, it would be, I don't even know. You have to
What's
delete
what
some
what
zeros.
what's the exchange rate right now?
About 10 to 1.
Oh, 10 to
Uh,
1.
yeah.
Okay, so that'd be, what, $150,000.
Yeah, something like that. But it's
Was it, wait,
also,
wait, it was 1.5 billion?
yeah, billion,
Oh, okay. So that'd be 15 million, I think, dollars.
somewhere around there, or 100
Or 100,
million.
150 million, 150 million.
$150 million
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
going straight away. And talk about Bugatti. Zelensky's wife, Zelenskaya, she drives around in one of those.
Yeah, reportedly, you know,
Yeah, she does.
that's, I had heard that. I didn't know if it was just a piece of
No,
disinformation,
no, no, that's true.
but it's so,
Yeah.
yeah. So they don't have a problem with those kinds of expenses, but
No,
Europe does, and that's the
Europe
basic
is
point.
bankrupt. Sweden is a little bit different. We still have some sort of leverage economically, still have some room to borrow from the International Monetary Fund or another international bank because we're credit worthy.
Hmm.
Germany is not. France is not. Great Britain is not. They're on
Right.
default.
Yeah. No, no, that's the other problem that they're, um, and the United States. So I
Yeah.
guess like France's debt to GDP ratio is 115. U.S. is 126. Britain is about 100, 101. Germany's is like approaching 80 now but they've been really running the debt up over the last 2 years. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and Germany has
nobody's
another
in.
problem. How are they going to go through the winter? They don't have energy.
Yeah.
They blew up their own pipeline
Yeah.
in cahoots with the CIA.
And shut down the nuclear power plants.
Right. They have none. Sweden
Yeah.
at least has six reactors left.
Well,
Although,
what I find hilarious is we're going to rely on solar energy. And it's just like, if people have never been to Northern Europe in, say, from October to March, because there's a lot
I
more
mean,
darkness than there is light.
it's 8 p.m. right here in Stockholm. It's pitch black outside. And the sunlight is going to be up in the middle of the winter at best for a couple of hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the same. I mean, they have a solar energy plant in northwestern Germany. Northwestern Germany in the Hanover and I forget the harbor there.
Hamburg, isn't it?
Yeah, Hamburg and also south of that. They have the least amounts of solar hours per year on the globe.
Huh?
It's always cloudy, and
Yeah.
that's where they put a solar.
Yeah. They could have put it maybe in Belgium. That would have been just as bad. Belgium's always, tremendous amounts of clouds.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
always like that on the North Sea
great, great,
coast.
great beer though. Incredible.
Oh
The
yeah, that's great.
Belgian beer is just the best. But
It is good.
the weather sucks.
It does. I mean, I sailed once 2014 and went to the German island of Borkum, which is off the very short German sea coast. And I was there for a couple of days. I didn't see the sun, and it was the middle of July.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
fog and rain. It's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those parts of the world. Scotland is the same.
Yes. Yeah. So, but look, Europe can try to create a provocation, but then when it comes to actually having to execute, they got very limited power, limited capability. And let's go back to that discussion at the outset about, this Donald Trump addressing these 800 generals and all
Hmm.
the bald heads. They're talking about we're a warrior class. We're fighters, not lovers. And you know, hey, how'd you guys do against the Houthis, huh? Just that was only 5 months ago
Really, yeah, in
that
Yemen, yeah.
we couldn't beat the Houthis. But by God, we're going to take on the rest of the world. Give me a break. I mean, this all this rah military bullshit has just got to come to an end. We live a rich fantasy life, and
Mm.
they don't make it practical. But it's not just the United States. You
No,
hear it out of Macron and Merz and Stammer. What I don't understand, and let me ask you the question: why is there such a disconnect between what the public believes and what the leadership advocates for?
that's a good question. I can only answer for how it is in Sweden.
Yeah,
If you look at this, that's called knapptryckarna. It means push the button. We're a political party registered. We don't need representatives in the parliament. We want people to vote, to make people decide their future. Are we going to stay in NATO? Are we going to leave the European Union? Those questions have never been asked to the Swedish people. And that's what we want. We want
hmm
the people's opinion to matter. And the question you asked is actually hard for me to answer because I see it. The people in power, if it be the European Union, the Swedish parliament, or the German parliament, they are absolutely not representing the will of the people and the population. Not at all. They're so far away from what people's everyday life tells them to think. Instead, they're trying to create wars. Nobody wants that.
right. Right.
And if they don't have a threat, oh, let's create one. That seems like the way to go. Like, look at
Yeah.
Kaja Kallas, for example, the Estonian foreign minister of the European Commission. It's a disaster.
Yeah. She represents, she's an example of why there are jokes about blondes being dumb. Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
She is one of the most low IQ people that I've ever seen in a position of power. Uh, and just able to say incredibly stupid stuff. So
Yeah. I
I have
wouldn't
little,
consider Mark Rutte any better,
yeah.
or his predecessor, Stoltenberg, who is now in power in Norway. He's continuing to destroy Norway instead as a finance minister of that little nation.
Let's at least give Ruth the credit. He has perfected the art of ass kissing. Hey, Donald Trump, you're a daddy. Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? You know, so
Yeah,
you know he knows how to suck up with the best of them.
really. Okay. I won't take up more of your time. I also want to get back to a hockey game. But the season has
Oh,
started in Scandinavia with ice hockey, and I'm a fan.
all right.
Yeah, I used
Well,
to play a little
I
bit.
I always appreciate the chance to sit down and chat with you, and
Thank you
thank you.
so much, Larry. It's always a
Any,
pleasure.
anytime, Haka.
All right. See you
Okay.
later.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.